Hello. Happy New Year, everyone. In 2014, the first video I'm making, I actually want to tie it back to some of the economic data that came out in the month of December from last year, from 2013. But this is actually a video about the herd mentality and psychology of people that prevents them from being able to actually see the truth. And a lot of you know that I feel that human psychology is a very important component of being able to understand the truth. So let's begin. Okay, in December, one of the worst job reports in the US came out. And the report basically said in December only 74,000 jobs were created, well below the expectations of what those figures were supposed to be. And again, they always blame it on something. They find whatever convenient excuse there is, and they say, oh, it's the cold weather this time, so they blame the cold weather for the low jobs report in December. So here's the kicker. They said, okay, there's no jobs basically that were created in December in the United States, but yet somehow unemployment miraculously dropped from 7% to 6.7%. So, oh, the economy's improving, but there are no jobs. You see how ridiculous the nature of this news that you receive from mainstream financial media is. It constantly contradicts itself, but yet you have people quoting that all the time. I talk to people all the time that say, oh, the economy's getting better. I heard the economy's recovering this year. And they say that all the time, despite this contradictory BS, rubbish, junk, garbage information that the governments and the bankers put out there and people swallow up. So why is this? Why can this be? You look at this whole meme of economic recovery that's being propelled forward by bankers in the EU, by bankers in North America, by politicians, presidents, prime ministers, congressmen, parliament members in the EU and North America. Keep saying, oh, the economy is recovering. I'm proud of the job I'm doing as a politician serving my countrymen. But yet, when you look at the statistics, nothing supports their claim. In the US right now, you have about 92 to 100 million people not participating in the workforce. Now, there's only 313 million Americans, so if you have 100 million Americans not participating in the workforce, you have to realize that out of those 313 million Americans, that only 243 are of working age. So you have 100 divided by 243 million Americans. Now remember that, because I'm going to come back to that. Okay, so remember that that figure of 7.3% unemployment was in October. In November, they said it dropped down to 7%. And then in December, although December had one of the worst job creation numbers in many months. It might have been many years. I had to go back and check to see what other number was lower than 74,000 jobs. But then it dropped to 6.7%. And remember, in December they said job creation was low because of inclement weather. Like it's never cold in the winter in the US. Okay, so the official government statistic for unemployment right now in the United States is 6.7%. If you go to shadowstats.com, which uses the government formula for unemployment from several decades ago, before the government started to strip out components of unemployment from the unemployment formula, you can see, which is probably a more realistic representation of true unemployment in America, that their unemployment rate is closer to 25% or more than 3.5 times greater than the US government's current official unemployment rate of 6.7%. But what happens if we look at perhaps the most realistic representation of unemployment in America? Just doing the simple calculation that I told you to remember, which is 100 million Americans out of the labor workforce right now, divided by the 243 million working age Americans that currently live inside the United States. Well, you take 100 million that are not in the workforce at all over the 243 million that are eligible, you get an unemployment rate of 41%. That is insanity. And that actually might be the most accurate representation of unemployment in America today, is that 41% number. So given those numbers, either 41% or the shadow stats 25% that are nowhere close to the government lies of 6.7%, how could you be selling the meme of economic recovery? And how could you get so many people to accept that there's economic recovery in America? So I am going to explain to you why such lies are so easily ingested and believed by so many people. Now, the reason people are incapable of identifying lies are constantly spread on mainstream media and distributed through the mass media to the people, especially when it comes to economic statistics like the ones I just told you, right? You have the worst jobs report in years, but yet unemployment is dropping. And people don't even take a second to think about that. That makes zero sense. How can that be? Someone is lying. Instead, they say, oh, politicians say the economy is recovering, so the economy must be recovering. And I tell you why this is. And it's because we are taught from a child, from the day we are born, to adopt a gang mentality that destroys our ability to divergently think. You know, we're taught to convergently think, that destroys our ability to critically think and to be an individual. We have to adopt a gang mentality. Now, when you look at politics in America, Republicans, Democrats, gangs. When you look at race, race is always used to divide people. Whether you're black, white, yellow, red, brown, gangs. Now, the way you can just prove this is you look at Obama's presidential rating. And his approval rating right now is about 38%. But if you look at Democrats, if you're part of a gang, it doubles. His approval rating doubles to 76% among Democrats. If you look at another gang, blacks, his approval rating improves more than twice the average approval rating, 38%, which is, it goes up to 76%. Now, I don't blame blacks for being misled by their gang membership, but they have to be able to step outside of their gang affiliation and to think for themselves. Because I have no doubt, say as a Korean American, that if a Korean ran for president, the powers that be decided that, you know, first they said, okay, the white guy Bush didn't work, so let's put a black guy in, a minority, and then after Obama, they say, hey, let's put a Korean guy in power. I mean, that will never happen, but if they said that, I have no doubt that this guy, he can send the same message of hope like Barack Obama did, which turned out all to be lies of everything he said he was going to do, and then get in office. As long as he's a good actor, just like the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, because that's all I see Obama as, and Bush as. They're puppets and actors, right, that are told to spread a certain message and then do a whole nother thing behind closed doors. If this Korean guy did the same thing, spread a message of hope, got elected, and then his character was just as poor as Obama's, and he was like, his character was the same as Kim Jong-un, or from North Korea, I have no doubt that 76% of Koreans will still approve of this president just because he was of the same gang affiliation, Korean. So this is what I mean when people have to be more intelligent than that. They have to be able to see beyond this gang affiliation. Now, Obama recently said, some people don't like me because I am black. Now, why I'm 100% sure that's true, because there are racists of every skin color out there, people that simply do not like other people because they're a different skin color. That is not the main reason why the majority of people don't like Obama. The main reason majority of people don't like Obama are the same reasons the majority of people didn't like Bush. It's because Obama has sold out his soul to the bankers and is leading America down a path of destruction and ruin, versus trying to lead it out of the path of destruction and ruin. So it's for his lack of moral character, it's for his lack of integrity, it's for his lack of courage, and for his incessant serial lying. That is the reason why people don't like him. So now, just so people also understand that I'm not equating like race. If you're Asian, then you act like a criminal gang member. That's not what I'm saying. Or if you're black, you act like a criminal gang member. Or if you're white, you act like a criminal gang member. When I say stuff like people that subscribe to, you know, my race can't do anything wrong, my country can't do anything wrong, my religion can't do anything wrong, and they act like gang members. That's what I'm saying. They assume the mentality of gang members, that somewhere along the line their logic and their intelligence goes right out the window and they're blinded by their gang affiliation. So it's more like their mentality becomes very similar to how criminal gang members think. Even the 38% that approve Obama, right? Because, you know, when you have all these people approving Bush before him, approving Clinton, even though those guys were terrible leaders as well. The reason, again, is because of gang affiliation. The 38% of people in America, it should be more like 1% of people approve Obama. It should be like more like 1% approved of Bush when he's the president. It should have been more like 1% approved of Clinton. But you still have 38% of unintelligent thinkers supporting Obama. And the reason is gang affiliations, because nationalism. Nationalism is another gang affiliation. So how is this gang mentality of nationalism pouted into us? It's easy. If you remember, if you're a child and you grew up inside the United States, what did you do every day when you went to school? What did they make you do? They made you what? Turn to the flag and say, I pledge allegiance. Put your hand over your heart to show your patriotism and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of what? Of the United States of America, right? So they made you pledge your allegiance every day to the government so you would stop thinking and support the government without thinking whether or not they're acting in your best interest. In other words, whether they are doing something honorable or committing something that is absolutely morally reprehensible. You will say, I will support it. Because think about it. Why don't they make kids recite instead, which would be much more to my liking, the Declaration of Independence? Right? That we find certain rights inalienable, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and should a form of government become destructive to these ends, the pursuit of these ends, that it is a right of the people to basically stand up and alter or abolish it. But no, they don't want to teach you that. They don't want to teach people stand up for your liberty and happiness and what is right. They want you to basically assume a gang mentality and say, I'm going to support this gang, right or wrong. Now, every country does it. You think about it. Think of even just about the sayings we say all the time. When somebody is acting differently, what do you say? You're out of line. Get back in line. What? What does that imply? You know, that being different is wrong and they want you to be a good little soldier, get back in line and obey. Obey and stop thinking for yourself. Get back in line. In Japan, they have a saying, the nail that sticks out will be hammered down. Again, it's the whole same thing. Get back in line with your gang and support your gang, right or wrong. So this is the type of mentality you see. You see basically across a wide divergence of even cultural events or norms. You look at sports. That's the same thing as a gang affiliation. People act like idiots when it comes to sports. I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, I heard of basically these moron LA Dodger fans that beat a man to death just because he was wearing the opposing team's like sports paraphernalia that day at Dodger Stadium. So in the parking lot after the game, they beat him to death. Now these people, you would say, oh, those people are absolute morons. But you're exhibiting that same type of gang mentality if you unilaterally support a president because he's the same gang affiliation like a Democrat, the same gang affiliation like race, like a black person. That's the only reason you're not thinking, is this person actually an honorable, upstanding person? And the way you judge that, don't listen to his words. A lot of people fool with words, especially politicians. You have to look at their actions, right? So it's so easy to check. So people don't want to see the truth because they're so embedded in the gang mentality. And one of the reasons I told you that is because countries basically teach you from a very young age to adopt a gang mentality, whether it's through the entertainment like the bread and circuses of the Roman Empire, which now is just like gladiator games, became professional sports. That's how one way they get you into that gang mentality. You know, another way is through nationalism. That's another gang mentality. So you have to understand this and have the intelligence to see what these people are doing to get people not to think. So you can understand what I'm saying is true. I want you to watch a short clip I'm going to play right now from a gang member from the Mara Salvatrucha, and that one of the most notorious and most violent gangs in the world. That's also known as MS-13, and what this MS-13 gang member said from prison after he said he realized what he had done. So take a listen.
Ishmael Cisneros knows exactly how MS membership can distort reality.
Once you join the gang, you lose all respect for life. Your mind closes off the rest of the world and you're capable of doing anything for the gang. It's a very strange world. All I can say to young people is don't get caught up in the world of gangs, especially those who think there's something good in it. It's all lies. We fight to control territory that isn't ours to begin with. We cover ourselves with guns to show the world we're strong, but inside we are weak. As for me, by the time my eyes were opened, I was already in jail paying with my life.
Now tell me after watching that clip that the mentality he was describing, right? Ishmael Cisneros, which is the gang member's name, doesn't sound exactly like the mentality you see out of Democrats, out of Republicans, out of people that are nationalists, whether it's for America, whether it's for Germany, whether it's for France, whether it's for Brazil, whatever country you may come from. It sounds exactly the same. He said when you join a gang, you find you're capable of doing anything for that gang. And he says it's a weird thing. And he also mentioned when you join a gang, it's like almost like a curtain is drawn over your eyes and you enter a world of darkness. And he said by the time his eyes were open, it was too late and he was in jail. Now for most people, you're not going to end up in jail because of your affiliation to a gang, because your affiliation with a gang does blind you to morality. You know, you become capable of doing anything. So that's why I've always stressed in other videos that you should basically only be loyal to what is right. Be loyal to what is right over wrong, and you will find a lot of times your nationalistic views are wrong, your affiliation with your race may be wrong because you're supporting someone just because of their race, even though they're wrong. Your affiliation with political parties is wrong because, again, you're supporting that political party because you're capable of doing anything to support your gang affiliation, even though the morality is all reprehensible. So that's why I say always support what's right or what's wrong, and a lot of your gang affiliations will go away. So the pitfall of not awakening your eyes is not that I think you'll end up in jail, but is that you will end up impoverished, because by not opening your eyes, you're not going to understand reality. So here's the thing when it comes to finance, because this year you hear the president of the London Bullion Market Association saying gold's going to go to 800. You hear other big bullion banks, you know, that have a vested interest, and there's a conflict of interest in what they're telling the public, saying gold's going to go to 800. So people don't understand that. And so most Westerners still don't look as gold as a worthy holding, and they say, oh, the stock market's the place to be. I'm going to continue to be in the stock market, even though it's an overblown bubble, and at great risk, I would say, at least by the second quarter of this year, completely falling apart. So that's why I say you have to be able to give up your gang affiliations to get to the truth. So just so I can leave this video on a positive note, I want to say that I sincerely 100% believe that humans have a limitless capacity to change for the positive. So even if you find you're listening to this video and say, hey, you're right, I am part of a gang, even though, you know, we don't in society call it a gang, your mentality is exactly the same as Cisneros, the MS-13 gang member I showed you, because your eyes are blind to reality, blind to the truth, and you can't see the truth as long as you have this gang affiliation. Now, when I was in LA, a lot of you know that I volunteered with young gang members. And always in the back of my mind, whenever I had some of these gang members in my car, was that there was some danger involved, of course, because of their past history. There's always people out there that might want to kill them, shoot them, and if they're in my car, I could get shot too. But it was a risk I was willing to take because I know people can change, and I saw tremendous change happen where they had no respect for life and they came to respect life in the time that I worked with them. So I hope if you're watching this and you realize, yeah, I've had, because we're all guilty of that. I've been guilty of having that gang mentality too, and having some kind of warped loyalty to a gang that I'm part of, whether it's race, sports, or something in my youth. That makes zero sense whatsoever. So we've all been guilty of it. But I hope that if you watch this, then you can start making choices where you get out of it and you start distancing yourself. And start by today, by sharing this video with everyone you know, and start today by making change for yourself and saying, I will only judge things based upon morality, right or wrong, not upon any stupid, artificial affiliation that's created by those in power to control you. That's so ridiculous. You're letting yourself be controlled. So become more independent, please. As I always say, remain intensely curious, and that will help you become more independent. So thanks for watching today. And as always, 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 again, I'll stress again, remain intensely curious. So long.